With that, we have Representative Ream with House File 2210. Welcome to your committee. While you get settled, to move things along, I'll move House File 2210 before the committee today with also the intention of laying this over for a possible education bill. And I know you have a DE1 to get the bill in the shape you'd like it in so that we could have a fuller discussion. So why don't we just put the DE1 on first? Are there any questions? Seeing none, with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. No. The DE1 is adopted. Representative Ream, why don't you go ahead and present your bill as amended?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members, for hearing this bill. I'll be very brief with my comments so we have time for the testifiers here. But I want to bring up 3 points about HF2210, bringing up the past, what's happening right now, and what our plans are for the future with this bill. So in 2023, the legislature authorized unemployment insurance for hourly school employees for the summer term, beginning with the summer of 2023. The legislature created an account in the Special Revenue Fund to reimburse school districts for their unemployment costs. The 2023 legislature appropriated $135 million for this purpose. These funds covered the amounts necessary for hourly workers claiming unemployment insurance during the 2023 and 2024 summer terms and will partially cover the costs for the summer term of 2025. This bill, House File 2210, appropriates $30 million in fiscal year 2026 to cover the estimated remaining costs for the summer of 2025 and $70 million in fiscal year 2027 for the estimated costs for the summer of 2026. For special education paraprofessionals, payment of direct unemployment aid to school districts reduces the cost to the state's special education base budget since these amounts are funded directly. Point 3, this bill also authorizes school districts to include summer term worker unemployment costs in their local unemployment insurance levy authority for fiscal years 2028 and later. And with that, if we could bring forward the testifiers, that would be great.
Thank you, Representative Ream. First on the list, we have Ann Krampitz, behavioral interventionist from Owatonna. She is on remote, and this is a good time for me to remind testifiers to please limit your comments to 2 minutes. With that, Ann Krampitz, do you want to state your name for the record and proceed?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Ann Krampitz, and I'm an ESP in Owatonna Public Schools. I want to thank the legislators for passing the unemployment insurance bill for hourly school workers so we are treated the same as other specialized seasonal workers in Minnesota. I'm here to stress the need for a permanent funding solution for this benefit. I am a widowed para that has spent 33 years doing this job that I truly love. It is getting harder and harder to stay in this position because wages make it impossible to survive. But the unemployment benefit have made that easier. Every year when the district offers me summer employment, I take it. The employment, however, is only for 2 weeks. I am a behavioral interventionist and deal with heartbreaking stories on a daily basis and work hard to alleviate and work through the trauma kids are experiencing in this difficult world. The need for a mental health break from this job is so important. The importance of knowing that we can rest easy instead of begging outside employers who do not want to hire a temporary staffer over the summer is a huge relief. Please make sure to continue to support this much needed opportunity for all support staff to continue to provide structure and consistency to our most needy population by funding the unemployment insurance benefit. Having access to this benefit will mean myself and my coworkers will be back in the fall to fill these critical roles supporting our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your work in our schools. Next up, we have Kristen Scott, and then on deck is Valerie Doslin. You can both come up at the same time if you'd like. When you get settled, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Kristen Scott, and I'm a special education paraprofessional in the Elk River School District. I'm very grateful for the unemployment insurance for hourly workers. Allowing the program to expire will put the functioning of our schools in jeopardy. Bus drivers, nutritional staff, custodians, clerical staff, and paraprofessionals like me are the people who make our schools function. We make sure your precious babies make it to school safely, are nourished and cared for while they learn, and are returned home safely to you day after day. This is not glamorous work, but it is essential, and we show up to do it every day because your children are important to us. As paraprofessionals, there are a multitude of duties and positions we may be asked to fill. We care for your children. We learn what your children are learning, and we get to know your child and how they learn so that we can help them be successful in their education. The experience we gain each year and the relationships we build are invaluable in doing what we do. I do not make a great deal of money doing this important and essential work. My income, including a summer job and collecting unemployment, barely meets the cost of living for the counties my school district serves. I received my first paycheck of the school year on October 5th after working for an entire month. The last paycheck I received the year before is June 20th. We have limited opportunities for summer school assignments, and it's difficult to find short-term, full-time work. The unemployment benefits I access in the summer help me bridge the gap and assist me and many other hourly school workers in providing for our families. It also allows us to continue to come back each year to do the important job of helping all of our children thrive. Without unemployment benefits, many of us are forced to find alternative work, which leads to many not returning the following school year. Retaining well-trained paraprofessionals is essential to having schools that work for our children. If you want great outcomes for our kids, you need to ensure support for the people who are teaching them, feeding them, and caring for them every day. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today.
Thank you, and thank you for your work in our schools. Go ahead, after Valerie Doslin, we have Sami Rahib from MDE.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Valerie Doslin. I'm here today on behalf of the Minnesota Association of School Administrators and the Association of Metropolitan School Districts. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. When the bill to extend unemployment insurance to summer-term employees advanced in 2023, we advocated then that it was critical the state provide funding to cover these costs. Absent funding from the state, the cost would have to come out of a school district's general fund where it would compete with classroom funding and programming for students. While we advocated for a permanent funding stream then, we were appreciative that one-time funding was provided. Although our preference is to have state aid cover these costs on an ongoing basis, we recognize that is a significant challenge given the current fiscal environment. However, it is important that our school districts have a predictable funding stream to cover these costs. Absent ongoing state aid, we appreciate the funding available through, under current law, the special ed formula and the unemployment levy proposed in this bill. As you all know, the levy presents challenges, particularly for school districts with low property wealth. But given the reality of the times, we want to ensure that at least a permanent and predictable funding stream is in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie Doslin and Sami Rahib, and then Denise Dietrich on deck. Go ahead, state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Sami Rajab, Assistant Director of Government Relations at the Minnesota Department of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to provide some brief testimony on House File 2210 today. I first want to communicate MDE's general support for providing an additional unemployment insurance aid for hourly workers. By adding additional one-time funds to the aid, we can continue to provide stability to districts across our state and allow dedicated hourly school staff who provide essential services to the schools and students to continue accessing this benefit. Similarly to House File 2210, the governor has included a provision in his bill for a one-time appropriation of $30 million in the general fund for fiscal year 2026 for unemployment insurance aid. This represents the amount needed to add to the projected carryover from the end of this fiscal year to fiscal year 2026 to cover total expected costs of up to approximately $70 million of estimated 2026 total summer term costs that may be submitted. In fiscal year 2024, we saw a projected use of $44 million in the UI aid and are projected to spend $58 million in fiscal year 2025 based on feedback from LEAs. This aid is being utilized, and our hourly school workers deserve this benefit other hourly workers across the state have access to. Thank you, Representative Ream, for bringing forward this proposal, and I look forward to our continued collaboration on this as we move forward this year.
Thank you, Sami Rajab. Thank you. Sorry about pronouncing your name wrong. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Joachim and members of the committee. My name is Denise Dietrich, and I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota School Boards Association, a statewide advocate for public education. We represent all 331 school districts. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to House File 2210 as amended. When the legislature established the summer unemployment insurance for hourly workers in 2023, it also created the Special Revenue Fund to reimburse districts for these costs, an essential safeguard to prevent added financial strain on school districts' general funds or the local property taxpayers. We were encouraged when the legislature provided $135 million to support this new policy change, recognizing that schools would face significant costs, and they would probably continue to increase throughout the years. Now, with the state appropriations running out this summer and the levy authority now being proposed under this bill, the local school boards will be asked to shift the rising costs onto local property taxpayers. The impact of this shift will not be felt equally. While wealthier school districts may absorb the cost with little disruption, property-poor communities will struggle, especially those unable to pass referendums, jeopardizing future funding measures in the future. For those school districts that are reluctant to increase property taxes, the only alternative is to divert funds from the district's general fund at a time when many school districts are already making very difficult cuts to staff and programs. This puts our local boards in a very difficult position. Do they take money out of the general fund, or do they raise property taxes for a program that they did not request? MSBA asked the legislature to maintain its commitment to funding these costs at the state level, rather than shifting another financial burden onto school districts or local property taxpayers. Thank you for your time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Denise Dietrich. Then I have Noel Schmidt, and Kat Briggs. If you both want to come up, you're our last two testifiers. Noel Schmidt, please state your name for the record and proceed.
My name is Noel Schmidt, and I am the superintendent of schools for Rock Ridge up on the Iron Range. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. First of all, you got to go see Rock Ridge. It's unbelievable. Everybody who's gone through there has gone, wow, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. And because we're doing Career Academy, but that's not why I'm here. Now, everything I'm about to say is I'm not representing an organization. I'm here representing myself and other people like me out there. I'm just a regular guy trying to make all of this work. I live in one of the poorest places in the state of Minnesota. I understand that we have a lot of things, and there's a lot of great things, and a lot of people have been helped by this. I just want you to understand that this is difficult for folks to pay for. I understand it's important. It's difficult, especially in poorer parts of the state of Minnesota. And to put that in context, this does cause more difficulty for our business office because we don't get money for this. We do have to do some extra things within our office to make this go. And then the third thing I want to say is that on this one is that the way this is working out is that I have people who are telling me they don't want to work because they can do this and not work. Where I am, we need people to work. And I know there's some rules, like, for et cetera, but what's happening is that, and you have to put in the context, my phone is going off like crazy today. 600 range workers are out of a job because the mining companies just laid them off. How long? I don't know. But we have 2,300 kids. You don't have to be a statistician to figure this one out. 1 out of every 4 of our kids has a mom or a father or a grandpa or a grandma who doesn't have a job. This is tough. So what's happening is that we have, in order to pay for, and we do appreciate the funding stream of what you're doing, we have people who are not working, and we have to pay for them to not work. But the way it's working right now, I have to cut teachers, welcome to my world, to pay for paying people not to work. And I've got 600 iron workers who are out of a job. Please, if this is important, please find a stable funding stream for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next up, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and co-chair, and members. My name is Kat Briggs, and I'm a school bus driver for Independent School District 196. I'm so grateful that education support professionals like me have access to unemployment compensation in the summer. I have the same basic economic security as my sons, who both work construction, pouring concrete, and when they can't work in the winter, they get unemployment. Driving a bus is not an easy job. We're basically driving a one-room schoolhouse through traffic and phone texting and snow. It's extra tough in the summer, not just because there's no air conditioning in the majority of buses. During the summer, I work 1 to 2 hours early in the morning and 2 more hours in the afternoon, a split shift, if you will, 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. That's only 16 hours of work. And of course, when there's no work, the weeks when there's no school, I receive no income. Because of unemployment insurance, the weeks when there was school, I received a partial unemployment benefit along with my wages. The weeks when there were no routes, I received my full benefit, which is about half of my weekly school year income. That little bit of economic security meant that I didn't have to choose between taking care of my school children, and they're my school children, and my grandbabies during the summer. I was able to budget and afford the gas to drive to Kenyon, to Faribault, to take care of my grandchildren when I did not have work available to me during the summer. It is critical that we have the best people to transport our most precious cargo, our kids. Children need consistency in their lives. What better way to show consistency than to have the same bus drivers, chaperones, paras, food service, and other staff each and every year? It is no coincidence that after the fall, in the fall, when the UI law changed, was the first time in a long time you did not hear about the back-to-school staffing crisis in the news. It's easier to retain staff, especially new drivers, and hard to fill jobs, like summer school. Now that workers won't be asked to go from financial crisis to financial crisis with no safety net. Now, I'm a conservative, and my other half also farms. I'm very skeptical about property taxes, but I support this bill, giving districts the authority to use their UI levy. Doesn't mean that they have to use it. In 196, where I live and work, it's the 3rd largest district in the state and growing. Our UI costs last year were less than $1.5 million. Even if the school board decides to put that all on the levy, I'm not concerned about the impact that spreads out across the entire district in property tax. That's something I can afford. During COVID lockdown, people told us how much they appreciated our work. But for most of us, it was just lip service. Laws like unemployment insurance, earned sick and safe time, and paid family leave and medical act were more than lip service. Minnesota showed us that you value us and the work we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony and what you do for our kids. Let's see who we have. We have about 5 minutes for questions, but we also have experts in the audience that you can touch base with afterwards. But I think I'll just kick it over to Rep. Lee. Did you have a question? Or Rep. Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Rep. Ream, for bringing this bill. In this committee, we've heard a lot about mandates and costs and things like this. I think this bill helps get us to that point of funding that out so that we can be more prepared as we go into the future and what that looks like. As far as questions that I have is can you think of any reasons whatsoever that this class of workers should have been paired out or continue to be tried to be paired out of unemployment insurance? That's a lot of the testimony we got is this cost of people who don't want to work when so many other industries, including those folks up in the Iron Range that just got laid off, will be eligible for this benefit.
Representative Ream.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Pete Johnson, for that question. Yeah, so this is the situation that we're facing is that a lot of these workers have not been eligible for unemployment insurance. They're the one class of workers that haven't been given this opportunity and haven't gotten these benefits. And I do want to speak to something that an earlier testifier had pointed out, and maybe I can have other people also testify to this, but if you receive unemployment insurance, it's because you have been actively seeking employment and your school district does not have a comparable job for you. It's not like you can willy-nilly say, I want an unemployment insurance this summer and I'm gonna take it. You actually have to be looking for a position and looking for, and hopefully the school district would have a position for you, because if you do get work during the summer from the school district, they will pay you full. If they don't, you only get half of your pay. You don't get full pay. You only get half. So, and I guess, when we're thinking about districts that don't, they might be in danger of not passing a levy to increase funding for the schools. I have to say, I don't want the people who work on our buses, the people who are driving our kids to and from school, the cafeteria workers, I don't want these people to be the ones that have to bear the burden of these costs. I don't think that's fair. It's disproportionately women who take these jobs. And so I think this is leveling the playing field for people, and that this way we can make sure that everyone is compensated fairly. And like I said, no one is taking unemployment insurance and getting 100% of their regular pay. They're getting half at best.
Thank you, Representative. Members, we've been told that we can't go overtime, and we've got like 2 minutes, and I had Hudson, Mueller, Bakeberg, and then Creasha to wrap up, but I'll go to Hudson and then Chair Creasha to wrap up. Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we're very short on time, so I'll try to keep it brief. Listen, the comment was made that these mandates that have been passed recently are more than lip service. It shows that we care. Well, showing that we care would be actually providing the funding to back up the mandates. When we don't fund it and we just tell school districts, you have to do this, and this bill does that, it says a couple of years from now, you're gonna have to take on this burden, that's not showing that we care, that's showing that we're willing to take credit for something that somebody else is gonna pay for. That's what we've heard tonight from Mr. Schmidt, and we've seen many other anecdotes, but I'll spare you those given time. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Hudson. Chair Creasha.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for bringing the bill up to the bill author and to all the testifiers. I'll just leave it at this. Members, the two bills we heard here, we don't even come close to being able to afford with the current surplus we have. We're a finance committee that has a finite amount of money, and Representative Hudson mentioned the anecdotes, and I'll bring that back a bit. This is as much anecdotes as anything. We hear good and bad about it. The reality is, are we going to be able to afford this program? And when people talk about stable funding doesn't just necessarily mean that there's stable positive money. Stable funding could mean the program goes away and there's no liabilities with funding attached to it. So we have to look at whether or not we can afford this. And the other question is, if we put this on the levies, I'll say it here, you are going to divide school districts across this state pushing this down to school boards, we're going to have hard conversations with voters. And folks, go look at the school board elections right now. Go look at the fact that a group of senators broke off and called themselves blue dogs. They get the changing conversations at communities. This won't help that, and I think this makes us more divisive.
Thank you, Chair Kusia. I'm sure we're going to have much more conversation as we lay House File 2010 over for possible inclusion in an education finance bill. I'm sorry, Representative Ream, I didn't give you time to wrap up, but we have to get going.